Good morning, everyone. This is Adnan, Sohail, Learning and Career Advisor from Dubai. And with me is my special guest of today, Hanane Benkhallouk. Welcome, Hanan, on the show, and thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for hosting me again.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Hanan, and especially this time, the particular reason today, I want to talk with Hanan about this most recent, this published book, which is Seeds of Change. Hanan, before we'll start to talk about this book, I want to ask you, who is Hanane Benkhallouk? An author, a business coach, consultant, change maker, entrepreneur, leadership consultant. Who actually Hanane Benkhallouk is?
I think today we need to detach from the positions and the roles. At the end of the day, what is the purpose for doing all of this? Those are just the how of doing it, but my why is to really be a game changer, and that's what I like to refer to.
It's been almost 1 month. You published your book, and interestingly, this book is currently the Amazon #1 or best-selling book. When you came to know about this thing, what was your feeling when you just saw in front of you that this book is now bestseller in Amazon? Share with me what were your feelings.
To be honest, since this happened just a few days ago, I'm still under the shock, but I would say a positive shock. I mean, obviously, everybody who gets into the writing business and become a published author, that's the first thing we think about, that I wish or I hope one day I'm going to become international or #1 bestseller on any platform. And I manifested that and I wished for it, and I thought, going to spread the word about my book. So hopefully when people find it interesting, more people buy it, more people spread the word about it, one day it will become bestseller. But I did not, in my wildest dream, think that it would take me only exactly 1 month, because I launched the book on August 29, and exactly September 29, I was just doing some work with a team member, and someone asked me to send them the link because they wanted to buy the book. So I go on my laptop and I open the link, and there it was. I saw the badge and I just froze. And yes, super excited. Actually, it's something that I'm very, very joyful, and I wouldn't have done it without the contribution of everyone around me who's supporting me, who really saw the value in buying the book, and that's how it became bestseller. And I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful.
On behalf of all the audience and from my side, congratulations, Hanan. It's definitely amazing milestone which you have achieved, and the book as it is received in the market and people who are reading. I have met a couple of people who personally read this book throughout, and the feedback which they are sharing, amazing. That's amazing. Tell me that overall about the book. What exactly is this book all about?
Well, as the name says, is seeds of change. It's really about planting the seeds for a better change. I think no one can argue today that we have been living in an era of change. And by the way, when I decided to write Seeds of Change, it was in November 2019. So there was no news yet about the biggest change that happened. And when, I'm sure you've seen it when you read my book, I said that when I decided to write the book, it was just to mark 20 years of after my graduation in 1999. And I thought 20 years, 2 decades of working experience, it's worth to share with the world what I have learned. And we'll get later on about the details. But that was the idea. And also because I was seeing around me how the technological revolution, widely referred to as 4.0, is really disrupting the whole world, just with all these technologies and Internet of Things and AI and all these sophisticated words that we have been listening to for the past 2 years. And I thought, okay, maybe it's time to think about a different way of doing business, and because everything is changing. So that was what really triggered me or motivated me to write this book.
Throughout this book and in your conversations, and whenever we meet, and I have seen you speaking on different stages as a guest speaker, you talk about the VUCA word, the changing word. And I have seen that even in the businesses of today, the word VUCA it is now more used as compared to past. Do you think that this is nowadays a changing world, or it's my personal belief that the world is continuously changing? So, what is the reason why the word VUCA is these days used more as compared to before, and what is its relevance with today's this world?
I remember the first time I started talking about VUCA, not a lot of people knew about it. It was about 8, 9 years ago. And the term is very old. It just has been borrowed by the business world recently. But the term is a military term. Actually, if anybody in the audience Googles the word VUCA, they'll find that it's inspired from the US military when they started having the war in the areas of Afghanistan, and that landscape is so unfamiliar to them. So they refer to it as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And today, I think everybody would agree this is the world we're living in today. Yes, I agree with you. Change is inevitable. It's the only constant thing. It has been happening since ever. But the difference today is that the change we are witnessing is unprecedented in its scope and in its speed. I mean, just look at our phones. Look at all the apps. Everybody who's watching us is using a smartphone. How often do we receive these update requests? Updates your iOS or your Android or this app or that app. So the speed that things are evolving and changing and growing is unprecedented. And that's why we are living in this world today that is constantly volatile. It's not just the technology. I mean, looking at the geopolitical situation, looking at the changes that are happening everywhere, it is certainly volatile. It is very uncertain, and today everybody can agree. For the past, what's been happening for almost 2 years now, with the crisis, the health crisis or the pandemic crisis that we've been living, it is very complex because we don't know where to start from sometimes. We don't know how to solve problems. We have a lot of societal, economical, and health problems, and definitely ambiguous because with all the data that we have, we cannot predict what's going to happen, and we've seen this lately.
That's true. So I think so we all love to see change around, but when we have to go through the change, that's the difficult part. So let's keep discussing for some other session how we can go through the transformation and change process.
That sounds great, actually. We all love to see change, but in the same time, we always find it difficult when we go through the change. And the terminology which you are using about change versus transformation, let's leave it for some other day. Definitely, I would love to have another session with you where in depth we can talk about difference between change and transformation and how businesses successfully transform in today's this world. Looking on the book, can you tell us and the audience what exactly is this SEEDS? Is this some sort of abbreviation, and what is the history or story behind it to pick up this name, SEEDS?
Well, SEEDS is an acronym. I mean, I chose the name because it's if we want to have a sustainable transformation, we need to plant the seeds. We need to plant it and have a root and a solid foundation. But the acronym stands for sense, engage, empower, develop, and sustain, which is, we can call it, I don't want to really refer to it as a change model because it's more like a philosophy, it's a methodology, and it is very versatile that it can be applicable to individual transformation, to business transformation, and to different contexts.
Let's talk about now the different sections of the book. I would recommend everyone that simply you can go to Amazon, you can grab a copy of this book and read yourself. When you read it, generally speaking, each part, each section of the book will give you some different insights, which not only I want you just to read, but even you should apply in your personal as well as at your workplaces. So let's talk about SEEDS, and starts with S. S stands for sensing. Walk us through, what do you mean by sensing in this formula?
Sensing is really about cultivating a new intelligence, because we tend as humans to think that everything happens right here in our head with just the rationale, the logic, and we base our decisions on facts. We want everything to be controlled. We want to control the outcome. What we learned the past 18 months, and as I said, I anticipated it. I started writing even before. We need, as human beings, to start using our full body. God gave us a full body that can inform us with information. So sensing is about connecting more to other senses that we have, and also to sense make. So we need to cultivate this intelligence that is right here in the gut. How many times we say, and I'm going to quote Simon Sinek, even if I used to think about it before hearing him say it, we say that decisions feel right. So sometimes we feel the decision. And if any of the audience or yourself, we go back to some incidents in our lives, many times you would see a logic decision, but then it doesn't feel right. And you go back where your intuition, your sixth sense told you that this would feel right. True. Whether it's personal, professional, whatever, small or big decision. So, and today this is not a choice. It's not an option. We are obliged to activate this new intelligence. Why? Because look what happened just 2 years ago. With all the data we had, with all the information we have, with all the advances, nobody had predicted what was going to happen in 2020. The opposite. Everyone had these big hopes on Vision 2020. What's going to happen in 2020? I'm going to expand. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Whether personal goals or corporate goals. Everyone had these high hopes on this new decade, and we couldn't really predict it. So we can no longer rely on only this one intelligence. We need to activate the sensing, and I talk a lot about that. And I think it's not a coincidence that we hear a lot about so many people that are doing leadership retreats. Everybody's going back to connecting with nature. A lot of leaders are doing mindfulness and meditation. This is all because we realize that we cannot just keep going, because we're becoming more of robots, just relying on data. So we need to connect with who we are as human. And what makes us different from machines is that we have senses. And that's what I talk about. How can we use our senses as an intelligence, as leaders for the future?
This first E of SEEDS stands for engaging. And there are studies over studies which show that these days people, and especially employees at workplace, they are not engaged. And disengaged employees cost organizations as well as to economies billions of dollars every year. What did you talk about engaging in this book?
Absolutely. I talk about engagement, as you mentioned, on the employee level, but I go beyond. I talk about engagement on customer level as well, whoever your customer is. Because today the customers are informed, super informed. If you want to buy something online, the first thing you do, if you're like me, you will go to see the reviews and see what people say about the book. So everyone is super informed. Customers are super informed. So you can no longer just create a product or a service, and even you as an employee, you are offering a service and just dump it. Everyone's going to go, and if you're an employee and I want to hire you, I'm going to go and check your LinkedIn, I'm going to Google your name, I'm going to find. So we need to make sure that we are engaging with our customers and also our employees. And it's not about informing, because this word is used and abused and everybody's doing engagement programs, but sometimes where do we fail, and that's what I talk about in details, is we feel that, okay, I had an event and I told everyone that we're doing this, so I am engaging. I'm just informing. That is informing, not engaging. You engage by taking their ideas, not just taking them. Again, you go to a restaurant or you buy a product or you call for a service and then they tell you, please give us your feedback. But what do you do with the feedback is what matters. So I'm given like a depth about how to do engaging right, whether on a customer level or on a...
That's great. The second E, which stands for empower, and there is definitely a lot of debate. Empowering employees, empowering women in the society, empowered customers even. So can you please give us the overview? What did you talk about empowering and who to empower in this tool of seeds?
So empower in seeds is really explained as empowering your customers with information, with transparency, with choices, because again, the world is becoming so informed. Everyone, there is competition everywhere, no matter what you have, no matter what you introduce as a product or a service, very soon somebody else will start off in the same thing. So empowering your customers by always, again, if you engage, so actually seeds is a sequence. You need first to sense, then engage with others, then empower them with these choices, with information, by always listening to them so that they know if they are making a choice, if they are buying something from you, they're doing it with their own choice, their own power. You're not forcing it on them.
Right.
Empower them by giving them option to return, to discuss if they don't like anything, to give their feedback and all of this. For employees, I think today, because again, going back to the speed of change, we can no longer rely on a one-man decision. And again, let us use the biggest case study. When we were managing this crisis that we lived, if anybody in a company or even in a family needed to go to so many people to get approval for decisions, if no one is empowered, then it could be really catastrophic by the time you get to get that decision.
Yes.
So empowering your employees, because today the organizational structures are going flatter and flatter,
True.
not because we want to be good, but because we must. Otherwise, by the time the one man or if we have a vertical organizational structure, it would be too late to make the right decisions. So empower people with information, with delegation, with authority to a certain level as well, so that they can make the decisions for you, which will obviously be beneficial to your company, to your products and services.
Right.
Throughout our conversation, and whenever we talk about the book and you give us its background and you explain each part, I noticed that you more often talk about customers. Should I understand that this book is more a customer-centric approach, or this is about even the internal customer, like the employees of any organization? What do you say?
Yes, no, absolutely. It's applicable to everyone. I mean, like I said, even an individual who is marketing himself, because at the end of the day, all of us are offering a service to a target audience. And whoever is offering a service, even as a consultant, as a freelancer, whoever you are, even I would say, even as a parent, you are taking care of somebody. So somehow, if you are taking care of your kids, you want them to be engaged, you want them to be happy, you need to sense, you need to empower them, you need to help them, by listening to what they want. So these principles can be beneficial to individuals, career professionals who are freelancers, to startups, established businesses, or even government policymakers,
Right.
because the customer for government is the citizen.
Exactly.
So it's the beauty of Seeds is that it's applicable to any context. When I mean customer, I mean the audience that we serve.
Perfect.
Let's move to the next section that's about development phase and business development, process development, employees development, organization development. These are the words we these days listen a lot. What did you exactly talk about development in your book?
I think the development phase is the one that could link to the subtitle of the book, which is How to Remain Relevant in a Never-Changing World, which means we need to continuously develop, because today is not about being the expert, it's not about being the leader in your industry. If you don't continuously develop, continuously innovate, continuously update, again, I'll go back to the example of the apps that are continuously updating every week, every 2 weeks, every month, then you will be obsolete. So it's really about making sure that if you are an individual, make sure that you are always learning new things, that you are always updating yourself, upgrading your knowledge, even if you have a PhD or 30 years of experience. Because of the speed of the change, things, knowledge, information becomes obsolete by the day. And if you are a company, make sure that you create a conducive environment, or if you're a business leader, make sure that you allow your people to learn, to develop, that you have a program or you have a policy of development, continuous development, and also creating that space that allows them to try, to experiment, and obviously to fail, so that they can always bring you new ideas. At the end of the day, It is the people who innovate. It's not the products that makes you who you are.
I'm sure the best things comes at the last, and the last one here is S, which stands for sustaining. Personally, I have seen in my life and people around me in the organization I have worked for, I've seen that a lot of time people, organizations, line managers, they take some decisions or they want to do something in order to improve, develop their team, their process or organization. There is a lot of excitement always when you want to try something new. But with the passage of time, they they cannot sustain that level of commitment, the motivation, the excitement. So can you tell in your seeds formula, seeds for change, what is this and S going to talk in this book?
That's why the S comes as the multiplier. So if you plant the seed the right way, if you apply the sensing the right way, the engaging, the empowerment and development, then sustaining will be the outcome of that, which is a seed becomes seeds. It multiplies. And here I talk about how if you really work in a good way of, you see that the metaphor of seeds was not chosen coincidentally. It's really about planting that seed, nurturing it, making it grow so that it becomes more seeds, which means you can sustain those results, you can sustain that transformation. And I talk about that with case studies, with examples, and also with how we can do that and apply it to whatever the context is.
Lovely.
I'm glad you gave us an overview of seeds methodology. The best thing about this book, which I personally like, it's not just a bookish or theoretical knowledge, but this is more about the case studies, which in each section of the book Hanane mentioned. And it's my belief that when we listen case studies, we listen from the people that how these situations happen and how they handled those situations. That's the best part. We love to hear stories. We love to hear what exactly happened in a real life with a real person and how in a real sense they dealt with that situation. And that's exactly the reason I found this book different to any other book on similar topic of change. And exactly my family, my friends, whoever I recommended this book, that's the reason they loved it. So it's amazing work you've done by including case studies and real-time examples.
Yeah, absolutely, because as I said, this is not fiction. The book, the whole idea came from 20 years of experience, 20 years of pinpointing what needs to be fixed, being in the corporate world and in very diverse industries. I mean, I'm blessed that I had a corporate career that was very, very diverse. And you know that from banking to hospitality to government to NGOs. And with all of that, I was seeing and feeling and sensing what needs to change, what is not working.
Yeah.
And that's why the case studies are coming from real clients or real experience when I was in the corporate world to see how these seeds have been applied, these principles have been applied, and they gave their fruit. And that's why I thought it's time to put all this knowledge in a book so that I can spread the word more, because I cannot be everywhere. We cannot be everywhere as a team. So the book is really giving everyone an introduction to how they can implement this if they want to be relevant, to remain relevant in this ever-changing world.
So apart from this book, Hanane, I have seen that you are the regular contributor for Forbes Middle East magazine as well as Harvard Business Review. You have contributed in some other books where other author or other people were writing and you contributed to that books also. It's an extensive task. It's not an easy job to write a book. And I want to really know about this thing, that how this idea came in your mind and how you managed to do it successfully.
Yes, you're right. I mean, I still have to update myself to starting to take videos, my selfie videos. I'm still doing that, and I'm guilty of it because people are more individual. But I think we should keep on keeping this reading and alive. And then for people to read, they need proper content to be written. I want to say, because I've been asked this question before, have you always wanted to be a writer? I can't say that I dreamt of being a writer one day, but what I can remember is that I've found writing always as a good form of expression.
Mhm.
I mean, since a very, very early age, I used to have diaries. At my age when I was growing up, there were no iPads. So I used to write diaries. Whenever we go somewhere, I would write something. When I was in high school, junior high school, my essays were sometimes selected and read by the teachers. They always uploaded some selected essays. So I guess it's just a talent that I was born with, but I never saw it as something I could do. I just enjoy expressing myself through writing, whether it's personal thoughts or reflections. And I started doing that in the field of my activity.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
When anyone wants to write a book, they try to find a different topic. Sometimes some people write a book because topic is quite closer to their heart. Sometimes they are the subject matter expert. Sometimes they see those things lacking in the society or in community or in organization. And sometimes there are particular incidents which happens and that urges the person that now is the right time to raise your voice and talk about this thing because you have been through this situation. Now the people who are coming after you, they should have footsteps where they can walk in a better way and they can apply knowledge of someone else rather to reinvent the wheel. So tell me that about the change and about seeds of change, this book. What was the reason that you came up with this idea and you decided to write on a particular topic?
I think this project's been in my mind for a few years, and not just me. To be honest, I was pushed by people around me who see me speak, who are part of my spaces, who read my articles, and even yourself encouraged me once. Why don't I compile all my articles in one book? So a lot of people like yourself in my surrounding who keep encouraging me. I remember this lady that I met in the headquarters of Facebook in Silicon Valley 5 years ago.
Right.
And as we met, we were exchanging part of the Lean organization, and she looked at me and said, I see a book in you. She said, after I heard you. So that stayed resonating in me.
Yeah.
Another person told me this. A few people told me exactly this expression, I see a book in you. And I saw it as a commitment not to disappoint them. And because I always believe that if we say that knowledge is power, sharing knowledge is superpower, I've always believed that I'm here in this world to give, to share whatever I have. We shouldn't, after a long life, nobody should die with something inside them that they haven't shared. It's just a personal belief that I have. And I think just the timing was right. And I thought, okay, I think I've been waiting for too long. This is the time. And when I met the publisher by coincidence, I thought, that's it, this is a sign. And, it happens. When the time is right, something happens that pushes you to start it. And yeah, I'm happy and I'm sure that now I got the itch. It's not going to be the last.
Hanane, in your book, as well as on your social media, I have noticed that you write some very crisp, short, brief, to the point, full of knowledge, full of motivation and energy, single or two-liner quote about the different business leadership situations. And that's the great thing. And this book is full of such things that as a bite size, people can take it and they can just easy to memorize and easy to apply in their workplace. Are you planning, and should we, my audience and myself, should we expect that very soon you will be having any of your book with compilation of all of your quotes?
Well, you just gave me the idea. Thank you. I think I never thought about it, but I think it would be a good idea to gather all those reflections.
Okay.
And since people now don't have, or most probably the youth don't have that capacity to read longer books, probably that's talking about remaining relevant in a changing world. Maybe to remain relevant, I can just gather all of those in a book. And yeah, that's my next project.
While I'm sitting with Hanane, let's take advantage of this time. And the book is also with me. On page number 43 about change or transformation, you mention a butterfly is not a better caterpillar. That's a beautiful quote actually, but I want to understand from you, What is the philosophy behind this?
I get a lot of my inspiration from nature, and I advise everyone to be there. There are a lot of messages in this nature that is, it's a complete ecosystem. And with my travels, and I travel a lot, and I notice and I reflect, and I think this is where I get my ideas. And this quote, when I wrote that chapter, that compares change versus transformation, and that's a big question that I ask most of the time when I'm speaking about change. And I am in the field of change and change strategist, and I work a lot with organizations on managing change and transformation. And I ask this question: what is the difference between change and transformation? And I talk a lot about that. There's a whole chapter, but that quote that opens the chapter summarizes it. It's not about improving, because when we improve, we just become, yes, all of us say we want to become a better version of ourselves. But what I talk about here and what is needed in today's world is to think about the caterpillar. The caterpillar did not become something better. It had to completely become something else, to transform, to go through a painful process that did not happen in one step. And we all know what happens in that change, and that's why probably all of us and most people refer to the butterfly when we talk about transformation, not change, because it's not about becoming better, faster, or just an improvement. No, today you need to reinvent yourself. You need to be willing to become something completely different if you want to transform. And if we take an example of an individual, we can't just, that's why I talk about detaching. When you ask me what do you do, because I want everyone to detach from the industry or the function. What if the industry is no longer there? If you just attach yourself to, I'm a hospitality professional, or I'm a driver, or I'm this, or I'm that, and that doesn't exist anymore, what happens? You need to be willing to take your skills, capabilities, and use them in something that could be completely different. I mean, I've seen people who were working in technology or in government who started the food business. It has nothing to do with their study, with their specialty. They just found this is what the world needs, and they have a passion for that, and they utilize those skills that were in the government or in aviation towards something completely different.
Gotcha.
And that's what I want to trigger, so that everybody start thinking that if I want to remain relevant, if I want to thrive, I need to detach from what I studied and also always see what is needed today. How can I use my skills to have a thriving career or a thriving product or a successful service in today's world?
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thought process before putting it on your book that you had. And to anyone who is watching this, particularly the young ones, the generation which is going to become now the part of workforce for next 20 to 30 years, it's very much important, this message which Hanane just mentioned about the change of mindset. So thank you so much for mentioning about it.
Yes, and it's a mindset, definitely. I mean, you see the 5 elements, each of them can be a whole discussion.
True.
And each of them can be a book on its own, and a program, and a development. But this is just a summary to just start that trigger, so we start reflecting on how can we embrace these if we really want to become relevant. It's a learning for everyone, me included. It's a continuous learning, yes.
Sounds great.
Your organization, Sustain Leadership, and while I was exploring website of Sustain Leadership, I came across you are having a particular section where you produce yourself as well as some other expert from the different part of the world. Some short courses, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on any given topic related to HR, leadership, management, change. How great is that? Anyone who wants to take advantage of that one. But should we expect, the question which I want to ask, should we expect that very soon or anytime in coming future you have in plan to make a video course on this book?
Yes, absolutely. We'll see them come, as I said, so the 5 elements will be broken down. I will make them in a way that they are relevant to business leaders, so there will be different modules or different categories, if you will, for depending on the levels. I'm even thinking to have one for children, You might see
Absolutely
a
amazing.
children's version, because really, if we're talking about planting the seeds, we need to plant the seed for the new generation. We need to grow the generation that can become leaders who sense, who engage, who empower. So they learn these principles from an early age, not when it's too late, because the unlearning part is the hardest one. Once we are really used to a certain way of doing things, it's very hard to change. So probably we need to have a version for kids, for schools, so that we can start teaching children at an early age how to plant the seeds for a better tomorrow.
We are living in a ultra modern world where businesses and the processes are transforming. Things are changing so quickly. Fourth industrial revolution, you just mentioned about it. um, Artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, robots. In this era, when organizations are spending time and their thoughts and energies to automate their business, you are talking about humanizing business. I have seen that you take your uh, first letters of your name, HB, H for humanizing and B for businesses. It's a beautiful thing which you are talking about, but I would love to listen about this from your side. What do you exactly mean?
First of all, I'm just blessed that I saw the link between my initials. So my name, first name starts with H, last name starts with B. And as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I think I became, I wouldn't say passionate, but obsessed about this issue for years and years, until I noticed that I can even use my own name. So I became whatever I want to see in the world. So when you are really, really believing in something, you become that. And in my own name, became advocating for it. When I talk about humanizing business, and there's a whole chapter about how to build human-centric organization. You see, at the end of the day, those machines, that automation, that technology is made to simplify the life of people.
Right.
It is going to be used by people. So the human element cannot be forgotten. Actually, a lot of digital transformations have failed because they did not take the human element in that strategy of implementing it. It is not about getting the latest technologies. Sometimes you want to transform digitally just because you see your competitors do it. So humanizing business means it's not about becoming a charity, and I really want to clarify that because I get that question a lot. Business is for profit. Like, yes, you want to do profit, but at the end of the day, if your business is not human enough, which means if you don't engage your people, what are the ideas coming from? Who created these technologies? Did we just find them there? They were brains of humans who created these technologies. So implementing these technologies have to take into consideration the user, whether the user internally, to use it as an internal tool, or the user as a customer or the citizen. If you're having smart government, you're having all these apps, if it is complicated, if it's not user friendly, nobody's going to use it. So that's what I mean by humanizing business. 3 levels to that. First, take care of your employees as human beings, because these are the ones who will come with the ideas. These are the ones who are facing the customers. These are the ones who can really lift you and make your business rise. The second element is customers, because people now are all individuals. They're different. You can no longer do marketing or customer segmentation like the old way. Category of these people, demographics, where they live. It's different. We live in the world where the Netflix in the same house has 4 kinds of offerings. You could be you, your wife, and your kids, and each of them has a different account, has different choices. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think this is the easiest way of looking at it. It's like the Netflix of the world. You can no longer have one product that fits all. So humanizing it, meaning think of your customers. This is Sohail. This is his age. These are his preferences. Not just a 35-year-old male married with 2 kids. You could have another 35-year-old male with 2 kids from the same background, but who has a completely different preferences and choices. So that's what I mean by look at your customers as a human being who has emotions, who has feelings and aspirations. Whatever you offer them, offer it to them as human. Communicate to them as human. Engage with them as human. and the same way with your employees, and that's the way forward. The third element is also we can no longer have the economic and social fragmented. We cannot do business irresponsibly and then take a percentage and say, let's find a corporate social responsibility program trying to fix it. That's not going to sustain us. We have so many complex problems. We're almost in 2030 where sustainable development goals were supposed to happen, and I think we are regressing. We still have poverty, we still don't have water in so many places, which I find really unacceptable with all the riches that we have. We still have a huge gap between men and women on so many levels. So unless everybody who is starting a business or establishing a business thinks about how can I solve one of these social problems embedded in the way I do business, whether I include more women or I use less harmful products, produce responsibly, with that, it has to be integrated in the very business model. So that's the third element of humanizing business. So there are these three levels.
That's beautiful.
Let's be honest, Hanane, there are a lot of talks about gender equality, about the men and women, gaps, balance. You have your own project of Tawazun. As a woman, where you have reached here today with a lot of success stories, not only for yourself, but the businesses which you have transformed, I want to understand from your side, how challenging was this journey as a woman for you? Because through this, my audience can also learn something, that what type of challenges can be there, who can support them during this journey, and how a journey of success for a woman may look like. Possibly a lot of people looking themselves in you. So tell us about how was your journey?
I wouldn't say it was smooth sailing, and that would go for any entrepreneur, whether man or woman. But I would say that I was lucky and blessed that I had a father, Allah bless his soul, that planted that first seed of always making me feel that there is no difference in certain things. Of course, we have the cultural context, that we have special, special values that we are always respecting. But it never made me feel that there is a role of a woman that I cannot do, that between me and my siblings, my male siblings. So that started there, which helped me always believe that there is nothing I cannot do, that I should not attach to the fact that I am a female. But yes, the world still needs a lot of changes to enable more women to be part of economy and social. And today I think this is, again, no longer something that is a social cause. I think it's a business case. It's needed for economy. We want to create balanced environments. This is not by having more women. We are bringing in new attributes. We are bringing in variety of leadership. So we shouldn't think about it as it's something we're doing because women are a minority. But we should start thinking about it that, again, because the world is changing, we can no longer lead with one model which is masculine, and we need a balanced leadership. We don't want equality, because equality means we're just going to have the same. We want balance, we want diversity, we want variety. So I had to work hard, I had to face the challenges, I had to always affirm, and also wouldn't have done it if I didn't have a support system, whether it's starting from my dad, starting from my family, but also men and women who mentored me, who tapped on my shoulder, who told me, yes, you can do it when I almost dropped the ball. So it's a whole journey, and nobody can do it alone. So peer support is needed, and all of us, and that's why I'm paying it forward. That's why I create a lot of spaces where I help other younger women and men with their challenges, mentoring them, coaching them, because it's our responsibility to work together to bridge this gap.
When we start to talk, and talking with Hanane is such an amazing experience to learn and explore the different angles of business, leadership, and even sometimes the personal life situations, which are not so much different from business life. So I don't even realize that we are having such a long conversation today. But Hanane, quickly I want to understand from your side, living in Dubai, which is a very vibrant city, full of activities, events, and not only just the local, but mega events where people are coming from other part of the world also, and they contribute, they participate. We are having here our own Expo 2020 event. Eventually was supposed to happen last year, but due to COVID, they pushed it 1 year. So we are in October 2021. Expo 2020 has just kick-started. What do you think? What you are going to take out from this event, and these people who are watching this video, what they can take out, any advantage, benefit from such type of events?
Well, first of all, I'm ready with my passport,
Oh, that's
which
great.
is a nice gesture that the organizers did. So it really allows you, since we're going to be exploring the world. So it's really individual passport. I'm going to add my picture and whichever country I visit. I think I haven't visited yet, but I believe that they will be stamping it. So I'm super excited, to be honest, and I couldn't be happier to see that it's coinciding with the launch of my book, because the theme of Expo is about connecting minds, shaping the future.
True.
So we'll add to it. I'm borrowing their line and adding to it. It's about planting the seeds for a better future for all, which is the last chapter, what I talk about. It's very much aligned. I can't wait to have an official launch of my book there. I can't wait to see what every country has to offer. This is a chance for everyone to go. Again, the world is becoming global. It's becoming a small village. And it's great that we're having it right here next to us. Whoever is in Dubai must visit it more than once, because we will learn about the latest technologies, the latest solutions, and also from there we might get ideas. How can we be part of this change? How can we plant our own seeds of change? Because what I want to close with is that each of us, no matter what you do, is you need to think, even if I have a small job, I'm still a student. What is the intention I'm making today, as if I am going to plant this seed and I want it to grow until even after I'm gone? What is that change I want to be part of? So yes, Expo 2020 is exciting. It might help all of us to think about how can we contribute to this better future. So yes, visit it and plant your own seed of change there.
Thank you so much, Hanan. It's a pleasure to host you another time on my channel. And the topic which we talked today, I'm pretty much sure it's going to be very helpful for everyone who is watching this. And it can be even more beneficial if you grab your copy of Seeds of Change book and then do one thing. Once you read it, do not forget to write your comment and your feedback on Amazon, or you can directly send to Hanan on her social media. You can follow her on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Hanan. And before we close the session, any message that you want to give to the audience?
Thank you, Sohail, for having me. The only message I want to pass is that believe in yourself and detach from a future job or a future product or service, and always ask yourself one question: how can I remain relevant in this ever-changing world? That's your homework, to reflect and to start a development plan based on that. So thank you.
Thank you once again. And thank you everyone who is continuously watching this episode of my own show, where we talk with business leader, we talk about business, we talk about success stories. Feel free to subscribe my YouTube channel, where you will keep on watching upcoming videos. And if you have any comments, feel free to send it to me. You can also follow Sustained Leadership on YouTube and on social media. Till we meet next time, goodbye.